narcissistic. Okay.
Sorry, I'm recording.
Yeah,
Go
just
ahead.
dealing with this narcissistic me generation and shit is really challenging, especially in their final act. But
So you have the same thought then?
yeah, I do.
Because I've been talking about this with like a lot of folks about how boomers are just unbelievable ego machines, and
Yeah,
and the narcissism is phenomenal. Like
yeah.
my mom, my mom went to Berkeley. Like she prides herself on being this really, sorry, I know this is not the
No,
interview,
no,
but like
no. This is like our
and
story too. Our
like
family were hippies in Haight Ashbury, and they had a unconventional marriage, and now they're just super. They can't handle any criticism, and it's all about them, and it's real autonomy and like personal agency is. I'm like having to like fight for it on a daily basis. It's really tough, and
it's
kind of unexpected too.
it's yeah. And my parents just sit in this house, and I mean they watch liberal TV and read books and do nothing but sit on the sofa all day every day, and will not let anyone in the house, will not go anywhere, or do not that they should be driving,
Right. Yeah. Are they
but
driving though? Ours shouldn't
oh
be,
yeah.
and they are. Yeah. No.
Oh, for
Exactly.
sure.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. And they shouldn't be. I've already reported it to the Overland Park Police
Oh
twice.
shit.
And
We're that's interesting. We're not quite there, but there's a lot of
it
contact
had no
happening.
effect.
Yeah. No. God. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. All that shit. My sister's near there. She's in Leawood, and she goes over there like once a week and stuff. But and her in-laws are in Lawrence, and they're even worse. And it's just it just goes on and on and on. And the van, it will not go to a hospital, will not be seen in public using a walker, will not be use
Wow.
a wheelchair, will not let a therapist in the house. It's
Yeah.
just incredible to me. And
These
every
are.
single parent I know is in the same.
Yeah. This is super familiar conversation. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And I'm telling my sort of like millennial friends, like, this is what to expect. This is going to happen. And like slowly, one by one, their parents are kind of doing the
Right.
same. And they're like, wow. And I'm like, yeah, this is everywhere. And they're like, oh God. And I'm like, yep, get ready.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I mean, it's for us. I'm like, they're not changing, so I'm like having to pull back like my kind of pleasing and
Yeah.
trying to like elicit some kind of like understanding and just set
Yeah.
boundary. It's like a lot of boundary
Yeah.
setting, and it's
Yeah.
it's really
I'm all about the
uncomfortable.
boundaries.
Yeah. Anywho, so this is all for another magazine article.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I know. Yeah, let's talk about you.
Okay, yeah,
Stuart.
and so I'll
Let's talk
tell
about
you
your work.
real quick. I say all kinds of super inappropriate shit, so just be warned. And then and I'll talk forever if you let me, so be careful.
Okay, that's fine. So yeah, I mean, we already did the other article about your wood turning, and that one has already sort of covered some of the bases. So
Right.
But just to get you thinking about that, just start with a brief, like, I'm Erin and this is what I do.
Okay,
and
sure.
and where I do it, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Okay, so the article that was before that was sort of a generalized, like, kind of about my career. This one,
Right.
The focus is the mobile bike studio. So so again, I have like two studios. So this is my production studio that I'm in now.
Mhm.
I was saying how we moved 5 years ago to Oahu, and so we built an apartment, and underneath the apartment created this really beautiful garage, which was to be my workshop. But it turned out, as we were building it, my wife Casey, she's an artist as well. We started sharing the space, and in 33 years together, we've never shared a space because wood turning is just so messy and dusty. And so so she does jewelry work, and she does other artistic endeavors, and And so I was enjoying not dedicating this other shop into, I was enjoying not dedicating it into a wood turning studio so that we could share the space. And so I also have this other space here, which is actually better suited to wood turning. I can make noise here. I can make dust here. We have a neighbor, but it's an agricultural community, and I can chainsaw. I can do all this stuff. Over on Oahu, we're like in the suburbs. So for 20 years or so, or even longer, I've tried to figure out how I could turn wood at the beach. And so I don't have it here, but like on my bike lathe, you can see I've made pyrography, wood burning illustrations on the side of it, which document the wood turning lathe in our our human industrial evolution. And so it's a tool that's really an amazing tool, but it's been used by humans for like 3,500 years, and that's documented. And so the neat thing about the lathe is it's the mother of all tools. So it's essentially you hold a piece of wood, between, on an axis, and you rotate it, and so you can basically make a perfect circle. That's what it does, as a circle maker. But in terms of industry, when you can make a circle, you can evenly divide the circle, and then you can cut gears. When you can cut gears, then you can make all of the other tools in the shop. So it's like the mother of all tools, and it's also just a very dynamic tool, and it hasn't really changed for 3,500 years. Basically, what has changed is the mechanism for how it was powered. So I had been thinking about all of these different things, and I could show you a picture of my illustrations on the side, even on my anyway, it's available. But there was like 3,500 years ago, there was like the strap lathe, which is like a strap, and a guy is just literally doing this while another guy is making a cut on the one rotation. And then there's the bow lathe, which is just it's just a bow on the spindle, and you're kind of moving it and making a cut at the same time. It's just all you're doing is spinning a circle, and you're making a cut while it's spinning. And then in like the Middle Ages, they would have what's called a spring pole lathe, and it was using the springy branch of a tree, and they'd set the lathe, and so a rope would come down from the tree and loop around the head of the thing. And so with your foot, you would kind of put your foot in a loop, and as you pushed your foot down, it would make like a rotation or two, and you'd make the cut. So all pretty basic, you're kind of just moving the circle around and making a cut. And then it was Leonardo da Vinci that created the great wheel lathe, which was basically, I don't know, I assume that it was made, but it was basically a diagram of just this huge wheel, the great wheel lathe, and it was spun by a dude, and with a belt it was hooked on, and that was like the first perpetual motion lathe. But the thing is, the lathe has never changed all the way from ancient Egyptian time, where you're just holding a piece of wood in an axis, and you're rotating it around that center and making cuts on it. So
like
anyway, it
okay.
has this rich history. And so the reason I tell you that story, to give you some background on the lathe, but also because I thought about all of those different incarnations of the lathe in terms of how I could turn wood at the beach. Like, do I want to have a bow lathe? Do I want to have a strap lathe? And also like a treadle lathe, like that was like 19th century technology. So actually, when I started this project, I'm like, I'm going to do this. I initially started, I'm like, I'm going to do it on a bicycle, because it's like a bicycling town. I live like 5 minutes from the beach. And so initially what I was going to do was actually going to use it. It was going to be a treadle lathe. So I'd ride the bike, and then I kind of like transform it, and a treadle. I'm sorry, not a treadle.
What's a treadle?
A treadle would be more like this. I was actually going to do more of a pedal lathe. Which was common in the 19th century technology. All kinds of different woodworking equipment was pedal powered. And then, so that's kind of how I started this project. Was I'm going to have the bike, I'm going to transform it when I'm at the location, and then I'll pedal it with my feet, and then I'll be able to turn. Well, I'm not an engineer, and I was quickly like totally overwhelmed by the engineering of what that would take to do. And I'm sitting there at the beach park one day, just because I go to the beach park a lot, and I'm sitting there, and then like people are like, they're whizzing all around me on everything, on the one wheels, on the mopeds, on the scooters. Everything is like electric, and I'm like, why do I have to go to like prehistory here? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, why can't I just have the right fucking battery? And so that shifted my whole thinking. And
How long did that thinking process,
yeah,
like you said,
so
it was like,
I was like a month or so into it. The whole process to design and then to eventually get the bike lathe as it is now made was about probably about 10 or 11 months. And
okay,
well, maybe 9 or 10 months. And it took about 11 different variations. Like I basically, what I love doing, I'm not an engineer, but I love problem solving. And, maybe that does sort of qualify me with some engineering. But
it does.
I basically came up with, so once I shifted to like battery powered, I was like, oh, this doesn't just need to be a powered lathe. This could be a full studio. So I had to kind of work out,
Why did
now
you think it had to be a full, like,
well, it
okay,
wasn't that
so
it didn't have to be a full studio, is that it had the opportunity to be a full studio
okay,
because I could include. I don't know why it expanded my concept, but it did though. And then truly the key to the whole thing is this fairly expensive, what they call it's like a lithium ion power station. It's
yeah,
basically a battery, a modern battery. These are sold for like off grid or for camping or whatever. It's a battery, but it's got an inverter so that I can run electrical off of it, regular 110 off of it. But then it also has a charger so I can just like plug it in at home, or I could plug it into a cigarette lighter or into solar panels or into our photovoltaic at home, which is essentially what I do. I like to think of it as sort of like, solar powered in a way. And it is, because we do have photovoltaic on our home. And so it didn't have to be, it just opened up this opportunity that I could, instead of just being like a pedal powered lathe, I could, it just transformed it into a full studio. And that's what really got me excited. So I knew I needed the bicycle first in my own thinking. So I had started seeing about 2 or 3 years ago, they're called Dutch cargo bikes. And they
yeah,
are a three-wheel bicycle with like basically like a big bassinet in the front with two wheels. And there would be like two kids in the front and then like sometimes a kid in the back. And they're like weird looking, but they're called Dutch cargo bikes. And I was like, that could work. I just was like, that made sense to me as opposed to just a two-wheel bike. And so then I went like first time I've ever gone on like Facebook Marketplace, and I found one like right away, and it was right down the road, and it wasn't terribly expensive. And so like literally like that day I went out and bought it, and it was like $500 or whatever it was, and it was kind of like brand new. The people really never used it, and so then once I had it, I'm like, okay, now I can figure out. So I started with in my own way, which I think really is pretty common for this sort of a project. But I started with like cardboard boxes. So I made like a box the size of the lathe, and this and that, and I just kind of like started building it. And I have photos of this whole process. Just I
yeah, if you could
documented
send
it.
that.
Yeah, I can. And so I started with like a box, and then it was all about height and this and that. And then once I got those, and it would like, it had to like connect onto the bike, and it had to, the turning radius of the wheels. And so everything had to be kind of particular. And I just worked through it, and I would cut the box and change it. And I just kept altering it until I'm like, okay, I think I have that. And I needed the stand also is attached to the bike, but it also holds all of the things. But it also flips up because I wanted it to be like a work table and then kind of flip down. And so I worked all of that out, and until I got the cardboard boxes how I wanted it. And then I built it out of wood because that's what I could do. And then I altered it and altered it. And then I realized, for a couple of reasons, I ended up having to put these kinds of like stabilizers on it. They're like jacks that kind of jack the bike up. So one of the most important things for wood turning is vibration, or one of the most harmful things for wood turning. So like when the lathe starts shaking, that shaking transfers into your tool cut. So you need it to be relatively stable. So I'm on a bicycle on rubber tires, like rubber is all vibration. So I found these kinds of, they're little jacks for like a little mini RV or a utility trailer. And
Yeah,
so I got, it's like Amazon is my friend. And so I got those, and then I'm like figured it out and altered it, and and so I can you might find it interesting to see the photos of all this, because I did do a
Yeah.
pretty good job documenting it. And so I got that part worked out, and I just kept problem solving. And then basically I got to a place where it was a little bit like shit or get off the pot. So I need to make sure that the battery concept is going to work. And so that required money. And then I'm also like, I knew I couldn't build this funky thing out of wood. And so I knew I needed to start fabricating it. So I got the battery, because it was sort of all theoretical at a point, like, will it power the lathe? How long will it power? And I engaged my friend who's an electrician, and he kind of guided me to what kind of wattage I needed and whatever. And we, based off of the plaque that's on all electric motors, have kind of a plaque with the amps and the watts and the voltage and everything. And so we based that, and he's like, this is what you need. And so then I was like, fine. So I went out and bought this battery, which was really kind of expensive, but it was necessary. It's like maybe I spent $2,400 on it or whatever it was. And I tested, basically just to plug the lathe in and go, okay, this is going to work, because I didn't know if it was going to work. So then at that point, I'm like, well, I can't take my design any further. So I took it to my buddy, who's quite a skilled metal fabricator. And fortunately, he's really good with welding aluminum. I'm not a metal guy. And the beauty with aluminum is it's half the weight of steel, but as strong as steel, more or less. And so he was like, no, we need to make this out of aluminum. So it was, he gave me a deal, but I don't know, I paid him a ton of money, but it was still like a good deal, because
But you're paying for the labor. Yeah.
No, and I'm totally happy. I mean, I was grateful for the labor, but it was like, he kind of was doing me a favor, because it required it wasn't like I had like a CAD design, like a blueprint or something.
Mm-hmm.
He was like an artist as I was, like he was like, we had to just make this shit work. Now I had the working model that I brought him, meaning the thing out of plywood and out of wood and stuff, and then the bike and stuff. So I brought all that to him, and I worked with him to the best that I could help him, but it was like 4 or 5 days of just really customized
iterating
work. Yeah. And figuring it out, problem solving. How is it going to attach onto the bike? And he's really good with that stuff. And so, and we just modeled the metal off of the thing. And so that was basically the process. And at this point now I'm in it, like, like I've invested a lot of time and then money to it, a point, and all in all, I ended up spending about probably between $6,000 to $7,000 on the whole project.
Okay.
Which, like, for my life, that's like it's a lot of money, but everything I do is.
But that's how much you would spend on a bike, period.
Well,
like
it's like I didn't really. It is. I'm used to, like, fortunately, my wife supports my creative. Everything's fucking expensive. Like, it just is what it is. And I was also like, well, I built myself a whole studio for under 10 grand, so it is what it is. So the beauty of it is, once I finally started using it, it worked. I had problems solved the shit out of it, and it worked exactly how I wanted it to, which is almost like it's the biggest win of the whole thing, is that it actually worked. Because I have engaged in plenty of creative projects that just don't work. It's just part of being an entrepreneur. It's part of being, an inventor and a creator and a maker, is it just a lot of times it just doesn't work. And I was surprised, because it did work. And it has been working. And so that's kind of that's like sort of the birth story of the bike lathe.
So first the cardboard, then the plywood, then you move to the aluminum.
And then and there were some other, it was so then I was still kind of embracing this, like, it's not just a lathe on wheels, it's a full studio. So I'm like, weight is an issue. It's a bit of a tank, but I don't have very far, it's really, it's designed, it's like a site, it's a place designed project. Like, I designed it for the community I lived in. In retrospect, after it's all said and done, I wish I would do it, I would do volume 2 totally different. It would be totally. but
That was going to be
also,
my next question.
yeah, so it would be like like a super heavy duty e-bike with a a tank trailer behind it, and 4-inch tires, and and just totally different. This is a pedal bike. It's not even an e-bike. And the problem is I've got everything I basically want on it, but I can't, now if I want to add something to it, I'm literally weighing it because I'm at max capacity. Like with me on there and everything I have, the whole thing is probably about 350 pounds, and
Okay.
which is fine. I only have to go a couple, it's like to one end of the beach park is 5 minutes and to the other end of the beach park is 10 minutes. And it's like
Hmm.
6 feet of elevation. So it's not like I'm climbing mountains or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, so, and also, so like it's my nature to be like, well, how can I improve this? But it's also my nature to fight against to fight being dissatisfied. Like I want to be, it's very easy to always be, it's like being dissatisfied can be like an addiction, especially for a maker. And so I really, in my older years, I've just really been like, no, it's like it's a balance between like always wanting to dream more and to think of how it can be better, but also be like satisfied with what I have. And so that's
I mean,
where,
you sound like an engineer to me, dude.
well, okay, well, I don't know. I just fucking do what I do and I don't ask permission. I've never been a permission asker, and I don't even hardly try to say sorry anymore. But so that's where I'm at. And so um like if I had like if someone gave me like a $50,000 grant, I would take the time and I'd redesign this thing totally. But nobody's offering me $50,000 grant, and I don't really need it. I'm happy with what I have. And the beauty is it works. And what is it? I'm sitting in a shop now. I could show you, but it's not that important. I have like 4 lathes in here. I own like probably 9 lathes. I didn't really need a little mini lathe on a bicycle or whatever. I have a production facility. In fact, in the scope of wood turning, a mini lathe, which is like a pen lathe, it can turn like a 9-inch diameter piece. It's not like I'm sitting in front of this big lathe here, and I can turn 4-foot diameter platters. Like as a wood turner, like that's the shit. A mini lathe is like, this is like a little student thing. But the beauty of it is I've done something with a mini lathe that has gotten me more notoriety and attention than the biggest 1,000-pound pieces that I've turned. And anyway, that was
No,
a
but it's
tangent.
because it's novel.
It's novel, and my buddy who writes for the Hawaiian Airlines magazine, he's the editor. He told me like 10 years ago, he's like, I want to do a story about you, but you have to either do something that hasn't been done, or you have to do something that's been done differently.
Right.
And I tell you what, that's a fucking hard bar. I mean, it took me like 10 or 15 years to come up with something. Like it is, as a maker and as a self-employed artist, like those are just super difficult things to achieve. And I nailed them both with this project. And
That's true.
um so that's exciting. But I guess what I was saying before, it's not that I needed a mini lathe on wheels. For me, this goes more into what I'm hoping gets some coverage here. So wood turning for me, like I love wood turning. I love the process. I love the transformational art. I love creating. I love making things that people love. I love being self-employed. I love owning my tools. I love owning the means of my production, and having skills that I can create from nothing, from like wood, from shit I find on the side of the road. I can make something cherished out of it. And I do truly love that process. But that's not the thing for me. The wood turning is like the back door for me into engagement with others. And it's the teaching and the sharing and the so teaching, what is teaching then for me? Teaching for me is more about helping other people discover. Empowerment is like a loaded word, and it's kind of an icky word in a way. I use it though, but for me, teaching wood turning, like I prefer to teach people that don't know anything about wood turning. Like you could take one of my classes and never have even touched a piece of metal tool in your life, and I'm going to turn you into a wood turning, addict in like 45 minutes. And it's an exciting transformational process that with the right tools and with the right instruction, anybody can do it. And I'm really fucking good at it. And I love it. And why am I good at it? I'm good at it because I'll do whatever it takes for the student or the interested person to have a positive experience. And everybody's different, and I'm good with people. I think I'm good with people. And so wood turning for me is like a back door into an engagement with people. And so this bike lathe, it's a novelty, it's a functioning tool, but it's really a laboratory of public engagement for me. That's what it really is. I really want to have my own school. I want to have a world-class professional wood turning school here in Hawaii. And I've had that as a goal for a long time. I've made an abstract and I pitched the idea and I work with a nonprofit, all this stuff, and I teach classes and all this, but it's not, especially when we had to move back to Oahu, it's not the right time. So it doesn't seem like it, but this wood turning, the bike lathe it's a way, it's something I came up with that is keeping me on that trajectory. And so that bike lathe, beyond being a studio and beyond being this and a tool that I can make really beautiful work outside, which is awesome. It's just a laboratory of public engagement for me. So every time I go out, it's an opportunity for me to refine how I communicate, how I show. It requires tremendous skill because, and this isn't like an egotistical thing. The fucking craft is dangerous. Like it's dangerous. Like things can happen very quickly. And so for me to take this tool and this process out into public, it's not like I'm just painting on a canvas. I am creating in that same way, but there's inertia and centrifugal motion and chaos and sharp tools and all this stuff. And I'm taking it into the public sphere, and a public beach park's fucking wild. It's not like I'm in a controlled environment here in the studio, and wood turning is scary enough. But when you go into the public, you've got like drunk people, I've got like tweakers, and I've got houseless people, and I've got, people from every country in the world. And it's, like there's things that I have to think about that I never do in my studio. And so it requires a tremendous amount of skill for me to do that. And it's also very skill building at the same time. And so for me, who's been doing this since the late 1900s, it's like why I like teaching too, because it's stimulating, it's anyway.
So talk to me more about the skill building then. How is it?
So it's skill building in the way that I think of like a performer. Well, it is performance. And every time I go out, it's a demonstration. And now I can choose what kind of engagements I want by choosing the location. So I can be I'm not there. I don't need 150 people around me like I'm performing, because those people don't fucking care, and
It's not the Renaissance Fair.
It's not the Renaissance Fair, and I can do that, and I do those events and occasionally and stuff like that. But when I go out on the beach park, like I'm not the main character. Like this, I'm at a stunning Hawaiian beach that they read about in their tour guide. I'm not the main character, but I don't need to. I'm not there to just entertain everybody. What I'm there for is, and this is what I really take very seriously and I think about a lot, is I am there to reward the curious in the moment of their curiosity, because I am providing something that people, at least in this country, this is a boring fucking place. Like even the beautiful beach, this is boring. People are boring. They know shopping, they know capitalism, and they know staring at their phone, and I do all that shit too. But when I'm out there at the beach park, I think about like if I was walking through that beach park and I saw me out of the corner of my eye, and I would be like fucking interested. And that's what I'm there for. And honestly, if I can connect with one person or three people or however many people in that session, I usually go out for 3 hours, maybe 3 hours at a time. That's enough. Like I don't need 150 people standing around me Oh wow, or whatever they do, I don't care. If they're interested, I have time for them. And I like to think I'm providing an experience that is, unusual is not, doesn't really cover it, is special. It's a transformative process. I love being generous. So I have all the tools, all of the accessory items I need, all of the material to make a dozen different projects every time I go out. And so I can make, and if someone's interested and they're really engaging with me, or I'm engaging with them and they're curious, I have all the time in the world. I have nothing better to do than to expose them. That's not the best word, but to share with them what I'm doing. And that's the transformational process from something that really is truly discarded into something that's cherished. And I'll give it to them, because another thing that's cool, it is illegal to sell things at the city and county beach parks. So I knew
Oh,
this
okay.
I knew you need a permit and this and that, and I could get what's called there's a word for it, there's a permit you could get where I could sit on the street and do what I'm doing and sell work. It's called is it called a cobbler's license? It's got a funny
Okay.
old school name, but I'll think of what it's called. But at a beach, but you still couldn't sell it at a beach park. Beach parks are not, you just can't do that. So I knew that from the beginning, and I was like, fine, I'm not going to sell my work at a beach park. Now I promote myself. I have a QR code, and it goes to my whole, what it's called, it's like a whole resume of shit, whatever those are called.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so I'm making my living doing this. So I need to sell things, but I'm not there to do that. Like, and people they're not used to that. Like, they don't, a lot of people will walk by kind of with blinders, because
Oh, because
they
they think you're
think they
gonna.
think there's some fucking crazy beach, woodturner at every beach park that's trying to hustle them out of their dollar. I am not there. What I'm doing is not a capitalistic experience. And people don't really have the language to understand that. We don't, they don't get it. A lot of people just don't get it. And, I'm not for them. That's just not what it's about. But I think it's great. I think for me, it's I'm modeling something that I want to see in the world, like, I love making money. I'm Jewish as shit. I'm good at it too, but it's not the most important thing in the world. It just isn't, and I feel like when I connect with people, this, like in my laboratory, at the beach park, under a tree, like when I can connect to people that way, like that feels important to me. And,
Mhm.
it would be nice if I made some money at it, but, I do in other realms too. Like I come out here and crack out my work and whatever. But, I so there's I like to show people things that they're not used to seeing, and inspire people in different ways too. Another thing that I really love is this idea of, like, maybe we don't need the walls that we think we do. Maybe we don't need the constructs that we've been told we need. Maybe, I mean, I'm sure, maybe you don't need the, like, brick and mortar and the this and the that. And maybe we put these, and maybe maybe the walls are actually walls, like they're blockades. They're not like it's, I just love this idea that, I have a bicycle and I fucking take off out of my garage, and I'm able to do this whole thing. And I don't need this formal school. I can do this and I can connect with people. And anyway, so that I love inspiring people that way. And I know from how certain people react and from things I've heard that it is inspiring to people. Um, you know, as an artist and as a creator, like, there's a million reasons why not to do something. Like, it's super easy to come up with reasons not to get the tool and not to do the process and not to spend the time. It's just super easy to make excuses and to come up with reasons not to. And I'm not about that. Like, I think this is a cherished opportunity, this life. And so this is just a, and it's weird, it's just a fucking weird ass thing to do. Like, when people see me down on the road, and, like, they just think it is weird looking, and I'm very conscious that, like, there's, like, the crazy guy on his bicycle pulling his baby carrier trailer full of shit, and then there's me, and, like, I don't look that much different, like, you
But
know,
I would be remiss if I didn't mention that you have been uh, artistically reinventing your modes of transportation since you were 16.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. And, in creative in that way too. And this is not my first crazy, you don't even know another story, but this isn't my first crazy three-wheeled bicycle story either. That's a whole nother article.
Well,
Uh,
but I think it's relevant that it's part of your identity, I would argue, just because I knew you when you were that young, to force people to see your art in unexpected moments.
yeah.
And I think that um, it's part of who you are. And there's something about what you do that you don't wait to be visited.
Yeah.
You're interested in seeing what happens when you take something you've made and put it in a place where people don't expect to see it. And as long as I've known you, you've been doing that. And I guess my question would be, yeah, more about like what's in it for you when that happens. And it sounds like it's what you're after. What these actually are, I would argue, is a bid for conversation.
Um, so yes, I agree with that. For me, it's relationship, and conversation is a relationship.
Right.
Um, Relationship is conversation, but it's all kinds of agreements and things too. So it's not that conversation to me sounds too wordy.
Okay.
I'm not only about conversation, I'm about relationship because that's what I value.
So
And
something more connected
more
or
connected
more
than
sustained
conversation.
or more
So
sustained.
I if something excites me, it's the potential of an individual, and I when I support that in a relationship, um, when I don't like that. It's not just about conversation. Conversation, just like and talking and there's too much too much talking is just a fucking waste of time. I am interested in relationship. I am interested in influence, and how one can support others, and so that's my interest. So a lot of times I could because I've been making my living as a wood turner, as an artist for 20, this would be like officially, I got my general excise tax number like in 2000, so 26 years. And I've been doing it, I was kind of learning for the first couple years since about 1996. So people, it's very common to be like, oh, you're a starving artist. No, no, I am, this is a starving society, and I am a nourisher. And that's what I'm interested in. We're People like to think of the starving artist and that you're like the society is helping us. I don't think so. And that's what I'm talking about. This relationship and what I'm offering to people is actually a service. And is it an expansion of their mind or of their ideas or what's possible? Perhaps it is. I don't know what it is for them. I've just put myself out there, and the truth is too, this is kind of an adjacent concept. Like it even still, but especially when I started, like it's fucking scary to go out on this thing. Like it's scary for a couple different reasons. Like you'll remember from me as a kid, like this one is easy enough to get over. It's goofy looking. Like it's hard to go out like as a clown, right? Like it's kind of like I'm on this like clown, uh, like a clown car, and I had a clown car. Like that's my comfortable place. But it doesn't mean that it's not without anxiety and nervousness, and it's scary. And then so and I'm not a religious person, certainly, but I do say, is it a prayer or is it a mantra or whatever? But I do every time I go out, I think about it, and it sounds something like, you know, universe, because I feel like it's like you're deep diving into the sea in some way, and I have everything I need with me, like symbolically, like I have it, and I'm kind of diving in, and it's like, universe, if I was, God, universe, whatever it is, um, you know, please protect me and everybody that I come in contact with, and bring the right people into my, attention, or into my space, so that, so that the best work can be done. That's kind of my mantra when I go out on this thing. And um and I usually smoke a little bit of weed before I go too, because I like to do that. And that's a side note. But it doesn't necessarily like take the anxiety away. It's just, it's it's a heightened creative experience, and to put yourself out in public in front of people it is a little scarier. And the more I do of it, the better I get at it. But yeah, I really am just always like, I don't need, like I said, I don't need 150 people. I just need the one, and sometimes I don't even need the one. Sometimes I just go out and like, there's the tree that grows at the beach park. It's a Milo tree. And a lot of these are all Milo bowls behind me here at this particular shelf. And it's one of my favorite woods that I work with. It's a cherished local wood. It's really special. I've turned a ton of it in thousands of pieces, and it's a wood and a tree that I have connection with. Well, sometimes, honestly, I just go and I park. I have different areas that I locate at, or I set up at, and I just, I set up my studio under a Milo tree, and I turn a Milo bowl, and I think, how fucking lucky am I? Like, in the scope of like wood turning and woodworkers, like, how that like would never happen, especially because the lathe being made out of cast iron, it generally locks, turners, men and women, into dusty garages and basements and
Yeah.
barns. It's not something you get to take out with you very often.
And being an artist is a very lonely thing to
It
do.
is. I'm fine. I love being by myself. I love being by myself. I love thinking. I love not being interrupted and stuff. But I also crave connection and relationship too. And so it was like, when I was like, do I turn this beautiful artistic the studio, the garage at our new place on Oahu, do I turn it into another studio? And I'm like, no, I already have that, and I need that isolation in some ways to do the work I do. But like, this is something else, and that's part of that skill building. Is it's skill building as the same way that teaching is you're dealing with different people, and they learn in different ways, and I'm in different environments, and I have to adapt to those environments. And when I'm on that studio, that bike lathe, I'm thinking about things that I think woodturners never think about. Where the sun is, the direction of the wind, where the shade is going to be, the ground that I'm at, the amount of public engagement I want. These are all things that a woodturner, like in my studio here, everything is exact. Like, after 26 years, I have the studio exactly how I want it. I have the light where I want it. I have the position. I have the fans where I want it. I have everything. The ground is level and flat. None of that exists in the wild. Oh, which leads me to, I have a what I like to think of as a working title for this, and I don't know if I told you.
I think you put it in the email, but yes, go
Okay,
ahead.
okay. So I love this. We're turning in the wild, not KONOT. Not all who wander are lost. I think it's great. It really sums up so much great stuff. You can tell me
Very
what you think,
cute. Yes,
but,
yes.
so you asked me why it's skill building, and in
Yeah,
those
yeah.
ways.
I think we got that, but like,
Yep.
it sounds like you're very interested in the messiness of what it presents for you when you're out in that space. Not just the in the studio space versus out in the wild. I think you've described the contrast, but it sounds like you're kind of attracted to that messiness in a way. Like, not
Yeah.
just physical messiness, but also the messiness of the unpredictability
Yeah,
of the space.
it is. Even though admittedly it's scary, and it is.
And tell me why it's scary.
Um, well, I sort of was talking a little bit about it. So, why is it scary? So,
Is it just mentally scary, or do you feel physically intimidated, or?
No, because there's a long list of mistakes I can't make. Like
Okay,
that's the skill that's
just
required.
as
Like
an
not
as a
just any turner,
professional.
not just any turner could do this. Like not even close. No, it's about ultimately, it's not unlike the scariness of being a self-employed artist, but it's more so because I think of the vulnerability. So it's if I went to the beach park, and this is just an example, but if I went to the beach and I had my towel out and I'm laying down and some crazy person comes up to me, which is possible because it's the beach park, I just grab my towel and I leave. Well, with this, I'm a little bit rooted. Like it takes me about 5 minutes to it takes me like 3 to 5 minutes to go from bike to studio and from studio to bike. So I'm like a little bit rooted. But it has to do with the vulnerability. Like I don't have walls to hide behind. I don't have a locked gate out there like I do here. Like I don't have a door to lock to protect myself from the interruption and the chaos. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's in that was you're seeing that, and I am drawn to the chaos of it. Um, in my life in general. The travel I've done, I was as a young person out of high school, was definitely like motivated by seeing things that were different and the chaoticness of third worlds and things like that. So I
So do
think
you see it as a test for yourself in a way?
I certainly like to challenge myself. Um, the work I do, like these huge pieces. I mean, this whole career has been a challenge and a test. Um, do I see it as a test for myself? Um, I see my whole life as a test, and I'm just super curious to see how far I can take it.
Okay. I
Yeah,
mean, that makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah, like, I mean, just some people argue that a lot of artists, when they become one of the reasons they become artists is to kind of control the chaos that they see in the world. And, if we take that theory, you could see how this might be construed that way. You're leaving the studio, you're leaving your controlled environment, you're you're giving yourself a temporary window into some chaos, but while you're experiencing the chaos, you're also controlling it in a very kind of high stakes way, but not too high stakes. It's still manageable. It's a manageable test. It's something that you can still win at, so to speak. Like you're not going to necessarily fail while you're out there, but it's a stretch for you to move out of that, of your
yeah. It is.
comfort zone.
It is a stretch, and
Maybe not a
um,
test, but a stretch. Yeah.
it's a stretch in the way that I feel like exercise my muscles. Um,
Yeah.
not my physical muscles, but more of my skill as an artist and as a human, and as what my if I had a mission or my goal would be, and that might be to connect with others. Sometimes it doesn't have to do with people either. Like I can just sometimes go out, like especially like this last like year and a half and stuff, like with like the politics and just the chaos of the world. I'm like, I have literally just gone out and I'm like, you know what, I can't. So you talked about control, like there's not a lot of control in the world. Like, I mean, I can't hardly control my thoughts, let alone anything else. Like I don't really believe that there's control. Like, so I'm not an artist to try to control something, I think more motivated by the creativity or the creating of things. And so I have taken my bike lathe out and, in almost near, not distraught, but in like definitely like heavy emotional states, and been like, this is what I can do. I can go make something, and if I get the opportunity to connect with someone, all the better too. But it is nourishing. Sometimes I feel like I'm nourishing others, and then sometimes I'm nourishing myself. Um, but mostly I get more excited about others. Um, I spend enough time with myself as it is. And I like spending time by myself. I'm fine with that. Um,
Do you teach classes as well during?
so when I was based here on the Big Island, I was doing classes at a school nearby. I teach at this renowned craft school in Tennessee. I'll be going back there this summer for my eighth class, my eighth time. So I do demonstration. Yeah, I do one-on-one stuff in my studio.
Mhm.
Like I said, really my dream would be to have this
Right.
really like world-class facility based off of the school. It would be modeled off of the school in Tennessee that I go to.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but I don't really. I see what I do on this bike lathe is definitely in that realm of a class. I've been doing
Okay.
like last couple of weeks. I've been doing these Instagram lives, and I'm like, at first I'm like, well, why? But then I love the idea that I have people from. I had like on one call, I had like someone from Sweden and Calcutta and New York and Australia, and Switzerland and Germany, and I'm like, this is fucking cool. So I started doing that as just a way to sort of a class, like a free class kind of a thing. But what I'd really love in that situation, and I'm not great at it, is more engagement. But it's really hard to get people to engage on these Instagram things. But it's a way to pass time. The whole bike lathe thing is a little bit of a pastime thing for me over on Oahu. It's a project that keeps me involved.
Hmm.
Um, I'm sort of a person that needs to stay busy, or I drive my family crazy, kind of a scenario. So
I'm supposed to ask you about a typical day. I mean, I can guess, but why don't
yeah,
you go ahead and tell me?
over there at like when I go out, you mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, so
I mean,
I'll
we've talked about, it's about 3 hours.
yeah, I mean, three
Sometimes
hours is
nobody, sometimes lots of people, just depends.
Yeah, so I'll generally so okay, here's a little bit. So I love doing demonstrations, I love teaching, but generally when I have to do something like that, it's a process of kind of cannibalizing off of my out of my shop, out of my production, and it's disruptive, and I don't like that. I never liked that.
Okay.
Having students in my studio is a disruption from my process that I kind of like have refined.
Okay.
And so it's a compromise that I'll make if I'm doing that. But the bike lathe thing was a different idea. It's like I'm gonna have everything I need in its place, and like a chef would. Like
Right.
everything is exactly. I have exactly what I need, exactly where I want it. I have fine, decent comprehension of how to use it. But I don't have to like borrow this to that and take this from that. So it's about having this full studio. And so generally what I do is there's a few things that I don't have in the studio that a woodturner would need. Like I don't have a chainsaw, I don't have a bandsaw, and I don't have my sharpening system. So the sharpening system is super important in wood turning. I can show you what that looks like, but it's not that interesting. But sharp tools are very important. I have learned over my career that if I have oh, sorry, I
Oh,
have a,
no, sorry.
no, it's
I was
just
taking a
civil.
screenshot.
Yep, civil. Okay, that was civil defense. We're good. Um, so generally, like if I'm in my studio, like I'm constantly sharpening, especially if I'm finishing work. Like I might sharpen so I have a jig that I put the tool in and I sharpen it, and it takes me a couple seconds, 15, 20 seconds 30 seconds per tool. And then I have like basically like surgical sharp tools. But I've learned over my career, like I can have a full set of tools and I can do a lot with them. I could make a dozen bottle stoppers with one set of sharpened tools, or I could probably turn like two small bowls like I do out on the thing. So basically what I do is on in between times I'm going out, I sharpen all my tools. I want my shit ready when I want it ready. Like
Mm.
my bike lathe is always ready, and I love that. I can just jump on that and go, and I can be turning in 5 minutes wherever I stop. And so I don't want to get geared up. Like for me, like everything's got to be in its place and ready. Like I can't stop to fold sandpaper because that's a disruption of like my flow. Yeah, I don't really like using that word. But it's about my process. And so if I have to like stop and fold sandpaper, it's just a totally different process. So what I'll do is I'll fold all my sandpapers and have them ready. So then when I'm getting my bike lathe, like my studio at home there, it's like a support studio for the bike lathe. So I have all my material, I have all my tools, I have the maintenance tool for the bike lathe. And so on the off times, I'll sharpen all the tools and they're in the lathe. I have it loaded with all the sandpapers and everything I need is just ready to go. And that I love that about it. And I don't know if it's sort of an OCD thing or whatever it is. I'm not a diagnosed anything, but it just appeals to how I like to do things. I'm super fucking particular. Um, to my wife's, patience.
We all have our thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a ton of them. And I kind of embrace them. At least that's what I tell myself. And so, okay, so when I am like ready to go, I don't have to like sharpen my tools. I don't have to find my sandpaper. It's like I have all that taken care of. Like that's really important to me. So I'll get my thing of water and I'll get a couple like protein bars, just like that. And then I'm good to go, grab my phone and whatever. And everything's charged. I don't have, I just try to, in some ways I do control all that stuff. And I don't want to, I am controlling in that way.
Mhm.
And then I'll get on the thing and then I'll say my little mantra usually at some point. I really try to make an effort to consciously take a minute and like bring that focus back into what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because the safety thing is super important and
Yeah.
the bringing in the right people is really super important. That's kind of what it's all about.
Mhm.
And I
Well, I like the
usually,
idea of it sort of being a meditative in between space too.
so,
I appreciate that.
yeah. So yeah, it's like a second to just kind of calm down. The whole thing is like like in the way that yoga in
Yeah.
India is different than it is in America. It's a practice.
Right.
It's a practice.
It's
And
not an
so
event.
the whole
Yeah.
it's a whole thing. And so you want to like, the mantra for me is like, it's a preparation, I guess, is really
Yeah.
what it is. And it
Yeah.
just to be like, okay, hold on. And sometimes if I'll like even be going and I'm like, oh, I didn't do that thing. And I'll pull over to the side of the road and just close my eyes for a second and do it. And it's not like a religious thing as much as like a feeling that it's important to, another one of these fucking words, set the intention, sorry.
No,
Um,
I completely understand. We don't have better ways of talking about it.
yeah. And so I just think it's important and I want, if I have a say in it, I want it to sound like that,
Right.
you know, and I want to believe that I have a say in it. So I practice that, and and the safety thing's important. Like I don't want to hurt anybody. Now I'm walking on the beach, and the guys with the kite surfers are out there, and those fucking things come down, and I'm like, are they going to cut my head off? Like it's dangerous in the world, like driving in your car, like it's all dangerous. So
Right.
I'm not sure that this mantra should only be um, reserved for this particular activity. Like I think this consciousness is like, I think it's about that intention. Sorry. Um, of being like how can this be the best experience how can I bring in what I want? You know, like it's like that manifest. You know, my wife and I are really good manifestors. You know, we have a file in our file cabinet of things we want to manifest. You know, and when we look
Oh,
and when we find and we've done this for decades now. When we find you're like, oh, look at this. Check off, check off, check off, check off.
yeah.
Because
We actually, my
writing,
husband and I do too. Yeah, like
because
we were
writing
like,
that
oh, yeah,
writing that down matters. Saying it matters to me. So anyway, so that was a distraction. So then I take off, you know, and it, like I said, doesn't take me very long to get to where I need to go. And so you're asking me about the day. So
yeah.
then I need to think about what I want to make and what I want out of the experience. Um, so there would be different experiences I want to have. I could choose, like I said, a place where there's more social engagement. I could choose a more isolated location if it's just something that I just want to. Maybe I have to actually make something, which doesn't happen that much on the bike lanes. But like, I need to make a gift for somebody. I need to make something for somebody. So I need to like. It's not about people. It's not about video
Yeah.
content. It's not about digital content or Instagram Live or anything like that. It's like so I'll make those decisions. What do I want to make? And what environment do I want to make it in for what purpose? Do I want to make digital content? Okay, so where's the sun? So I'm making like more like site location kind of thing. So I'm like,
Okay.
well, what do I want the background to be like? Where's the sun going to be? And do I want to be roasting out in the sun? Do I need shade? What's that shot going to look like? The wind is super important. Wind and noise. So my battery doesn't make any noise like a generator does, but the grinding of the wood can make noise. And so
Right.
I'm certainly never trying to make someone else uncomfortable. Like I just don't, that's just not my thing. Like I'll just pack my shit up. If someone was uncomfortable, I'm not going to be there. That's not what
Yeah,
I
you
do.
don't want to be disruptive.
I
Yeah.
don't do
Yeah.
that with my life. Like if someone's not into me, I just fucking leave. Like, but that's
Yeah.
never happened either because I think I'm pretty conscientious. I like to believe so. You can ask my wife later what she thinks. Um, so I'm thinking about dust and I'm thinking about noise. If
Okay.
I'm going to turn a bottle stopper, I could do that like 10 feet from someone and they'd not even hardly notice. But if I'm going to turn a bowl, there's like a little bit more of a grind to it. And
Hmm.
so um, dust can be noxious to say the least. So
Yeah.
I'm certainly thinking about that. Like I'm thinking about it for me and I'm thinking about for others. So I'm not making a ton of dust, but it's like if you were right, if without consciousness or conscientiousness, like it could make someone
It would be
uncomfortable.
easy.
And so I've learned how I need our wind is like 80% trade wind. So it's coming from the east, the northeast, more or less. So I've learned how I can set up so that it's the most comfortable for me. And I've learned like there's a couple different scenarios where it's really uncomfortable. So
Okay.
I've learned that. So these are like things that woodturners normally don't think about, really.
Yeah.
And shade and stuff too matters. So then I do that, you know, and then as a you know, then I'm like, okay, you know, so then it takes me the 3 to 5 minutes to get set up. I put out the outriggers and I jack it up and I have to remove the tire. You've seen that on some of my videos, perhaps. I've shown that.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
to go basically from bike to studio. And then
I'm actually shocked by how fast it goes.
well, it was my goal. It was actually, if anything, I would love it to be a little faster, but it is what it is. You know, it take literally 3 to 5 minutes and I'm set up. But I'm also kind of locked into, you know, like in a
Yeah.
perfect world, I'd like hit a button and pneumatic things are, you know, but that's never, there's no perfect world. So I'm pleased with how it is and it's how I wanted it to be. Um, and then, yeah, then I just do my thing, and depending on if it's content or if it's video content or if it's Instagram stuff, um, you know. So I knew when I was designing this that ultimately I didn't, you know, what you don't know the effects of your decisions until you do them, right? So I didn't know how it was going to be till I started doing it. You know, I didn't know how the wind was going to affect me until I started doing, you know, that's just the reality of choices. And so initially though, what I was really drawn to was using it as you know, promotional content for my brand, essentially. You know, I didn't know what it would be like with people exactly, although I've done tons, I have done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of demonstrations. So I knew that would be a component of it. But I was really like, I'm like, you know what? There's got to be like tens of thousands of wood turners in Eastern Europe that certainly don't have this behind them. And that's true, you
Right.
know, and they don't. So I knew that it would have um that effect, and it has, you know, and like I said, I have built some notoriety
Yeah.
because of the sort of the tropical gimmick of it, I guess, in a way.
I
Um,
haven't looked. Do you have the specs up on your site or
of what?
of the bike itself?
Like, what do you mean specs exactly?
Like what motor you use?
Oh,
What, like, if for someone to be able to rebuild one for
no,
themselves?
I haven't, and it's interesting too because I've had several people like, "Oh, you should patent it or whatever," and I'm like, "Why?" But because I don't see no financial viability in anybody ever
You know,
doing this again.
it's not going to be a
So
mass
so
product.
so no, I don't have that, but I also like because I'm interested in engagement. So like I respond to people like they're like if they
Okay,
you
so
know
if somebody wanted to write to you and
if
say, "I want to
somebody
do
had
this,"
questions, they should ask me. And I
okay,
always have time for the curious. Like I said, like I'm always have
yeah,
time for that. Like, and so I have done a couple walkthroughs of it and been like, this
yeah,
is, and like narrated kind of like, this is what it is, and this is what it is. And, you know, and I love that. Like you engaged with me doing that one Instagram. That was great because I don't feel like I just a fucking crazy person talking to themselves at the beach park,
yeah,
and it just allows um me, you know, I just love it when people ask questions and stuff. And you know, some people, you know, I had some dude from the Ukraine that was asking me a ton of questions the other day, and I was totally digging that. You know, I love that.
yeah.
So but no, I
I love it
don't like.
too.
Yeah, yeah, I don't. I just like, I think sharing is what it's about for, you know, for me. You know, but some people, you know, I had this one friend, it was a wife of an artist friend. his Her husband, he was kind of an insular, kind of quiet dude, but she was like, I wanted to tell you, I've seen your videos and it's just amazing. You know, she's like, what I could really tell, what this, she's talking to me. She's like, what I could really tell was that you really loved doing it. She's like, for me personally, it looked like a fucking nightmare. You know, and you know, she's like, but you know, it was just a funny observational thing, you know, that she was like, for me, like this is like the worst case scenario of everything. Like there's nothing about this I would enjoy, but she was enjoying that I was enjoying it, you know? And
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah. And those make the best teachers.
yeah.
People like that, you know, like students will get into whatever you're doing as long as they know how much you love it and how much you're nerding out on it.
And
Like,
I'm a passionate person, maybe you can tell from
yeah,
even the
of
conversation.
course.
You know, and you know, one of my favorite things to do is you know, meeting people. You know, it's like a pastime for me. And so, and how I do that is I'm genuinely, genuinely interested in what their passion is. And I love associating with professionals. And it doesn't have to be like a business professional or an academic professional or
Hmm.
you know, anything like that. Is they're a professional, in my opinion, if they're fucking passionate about something and they're pursuing it to the best of their ability. And I love finding out what that is for people. And a lot of people don't have it. A lot of people don't know. And so as a teacher,
It's
um,
true. Absolutely true.
I mean, most people don't. I mean, that's just
Hmm.
the reality of it, you know. And
Hmm.
as an artist, that's
Beautiful.
that's the work for me, you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if I just like the fact I can make these bowls and people love them is just sort of an extra. It's great, you know. And I love the skills I have, and I'm grateful for my teachers and for everything that's come, you know, in all the fucking sacrifice too, you know. Like I'm grateful to be able to do it. And you know, teaching people, again, there that word empowerment and stuff, but like it is this like creative empowerment. Like, so wood turning is all about choices. So the very
Mm.
first thing you do is you locate the center and you mount the piece of wood from its center, and then you put it on the lathe and you turn it on, and no matter how perfect you've prepared it and how perfectly you've located the center, you have chaotic eccentricity on the outside. And you, as a wood turner, remove that. You lock in, you stabilize yourself, and you rough it out, but you basically true it up from the center. Like you look, that's the first thing you do is you locate the center. And then, these bowls, I'm working with like a tree. Like a tree is it's this thing, but it's like a material. It's just this, there's a million bowls in a tree. There's a billion bowls. And it's just a matter of choices. And so this process for me of wood turning is locating the center, removing the outside of the chaos, trying to read the signs of the tree and of the material itself, but ultimately making the choice for what you want to see. And I make bowls that I make bowls with curves that I enjoy. I make bowls that have the weight and the feel that I enjoy. Now, were they always bowls that I enjoyed? No, I made a lot of fucking ugly shit. And you make ugly shit and you make mistakes. And then and if you're a quick learner, you're like, I don't want to fucking make mistakes. I don't want to invest myself to that degree and then have it be destroyed. I have to, what did I do wrong? I can't do that wrong. Mistakes happen, but making mistakes that you're not supposed to make, it's inexcusable. I don't have time for it, and it's dangerous. So after making 3,000 finished bowls and a million other things, I have the skills to make shapes that are pleasing to me. And that's my joy. If other people will pay me money for them and get pleasure out of them too, it's an essential part of my life because I'm an American and I have expenses, and all this stuff costs money too, like all the tools and everything. So I need the money. It's not that, but it's like I'm making work that I'm consistently pleased with, and that's my success as a wood turner now. Making my living this way for 26 years is a success. Having my daughter being a part of her life for her entire life since before she was born, and having my studio 10 feet away from her bedroom for her whole life has been, a total gift, for all of us, really. But, I don't know. That's a bit of a random stuff.
That's a perfect place to end it, I think.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And now I want to make an edit of the interview.
Okay.
And put the interview.
Okay, well, we can do that too.
I'm gonna get my kid who's learning film editing. Maybe I'll get her to do it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, maybe
beautiful.
maybe we'll do some other stuff in the future. I have other ideas.
I'm so happy I'm so happy to make the reconnection and to hear what's making you so happy.
I'm really grateful for your willingness and interest too, and for your friendship too. That's certainly blossomed through Facebook over the years.
I know. I am just perfectly captivated. Like I didn't really tell you much about my academic career, but I did the same kind of thing with video game designers, and talked to them about their process because my degree is in the study of writing and how people write, and that has to do with composition and creativity, and video game designers think and talk like writers, and they design experiences that are meant to be, and a bad game is one that somebody doesn't finish, and so they're constantly trying to figure out, how do I keep somebody to keep going right throughout this thing? Like I want to get them to the end, but I have to keep them compelled the whole way through. And how do I do that? And you talk a lot. I mean, I've been interviewing creative people for many years, and it's just, to me, everybody has some of the same themes and but I think ultimately what's so fascinating to me is that it's such a human thing. And no matter what technology you're using, an old one or a new one, it's to use these technologies to create new experiences for people is infinitely interesting.
Well, I'm really glad you said that, because I really think that's my skill set. So, I I love people in general. So I have houseless friends and I have billionaire friends. Like I can like that's my forte is that's my range. And what I've learned by associating with like very wealthy people as well is um that what I offer to people as an artist, especially when it's hands-on. So like the bike lathe is a good example of this, or when I do a demonstration or I do a class, is I offer people the creative experience, and that is a priceless gift. And that's what I so the bike lathe, when I say it's a laboratory of public engagement, that's the study. It's the study of how I can communicate and have relationship with people, even if it's a very quick relationship, but how I can have that and create an experience and using my creative process to have it. And I don't know what comes of it. I don't even know. I mean, there's a point in my day where I question the worth of it all every day. And it usually comes with fatigue, you know, and I'm like, what the fuck was that for? And then I wake up the next day and I do it again because that's our commitment as an artist and as
Yes.
and being alive.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm glad you brought up experience
Beautiful.
because that's what I
Yeah.
really think is my interest and passion.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very clear. Okay, so give me some time to sit with this,
Okay.
and then I'll send you. Um, I shared the note stock with you, so you can check
Okay.
in,
Sure.
periodically. But I need to transcribe and then look at the transcription and sit with it. But
Okay.
I'm not writing an academic article; it's a popular one,
No.
so it's much
No, and
easier.
I sent you the previous one from this is
Yes,
for the Woodturners
perfect.
UK.
Yeah,
Um
yeah,
it's sold in over 66 countries. It's the
beautiful.
largest, yeah, so that's cool. Um uh my buddy, his name's Emiliano. He's like he's an editor, I guess. I'm not sure what he is. He's a writer editor, and so he has a nice relationship with them, and he'll be like the guest editor. So he'll make
Okay,
like, and it's the same thing as that other article. He kind of makes a. He's not a great writer or anything. He's Argentinian, but he's a great ambassador to wood turning here in Hawaii, and so
cool,
he kind of makes like a paragraph. And so again, just to reiterate, it's a question and answer thing, and we can make up the
great.
fucking questions to give the answers that we want to give.
Got
Um,
it. Okay.
I'm
So I'll just
trying.
pull out some cool nuggets and then you and I
Yeah,
can kind of massage it.
yeah. I'd love to. This article to me is just an extension of this creative process. It's just a way to reach more people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And it should be, I think we should do it together. So definitely jump in there and
okay.
pull out things you want. None of this is personal. Like I don't get upset about, I'm used to being edited.
Okay.
So feel
Okay.
free to do whatever you like and
Sure.
and we'll just come up with it. And when you feel like it's ready to send over to him, I'm sure he'll have more edits. So it's
Yeah,
just
he's pretty. The last one, I basically wrote it, and I'm certainly not a writer. But yeah, no, he didn't change it at all. So I think it's however we want it. And my
okay.
goal, I don't know what your time frame is or whatever, and this is certainly not to put any pressure of any sort because it can happen whenever. But in my mind, and I talked to him about it. So 2 years ago, I got myself invited to this wood turning festival in Germany. I don't know if you were tuned into that at all.
Yeah, I
And it
saw.
was a fucking big deal, and it
Yeah.
was really cool. And so I got myself invited to it this year too. It's a biannual
Ooh,
festival. This year it's in September, and
okay.
it's in Austria. And I'm actually planning on going with my daughter Helix. And I'm gonna just pull. She's just gonna be a senior. I'm just gonna pull her out of school, and we're gonna be gone for like a month. I think it's gonna
Do
tie.
it.
We're gonna tie it into her fall break. It works out, but it's like
Yeah.
I'm not worried about. She's not super academic, so not too concerned. But we're gonna go and we're gonna make a whole trip out of it. But I did ask him if it was possible if we had this article written, if it could be potentially published before then, and he thought it
Great.
might be. He thought it might be because I'd love to
Okay.
go because basically, like, it's not the biggest turning magazine in the United States, but it certainly is in Europe, and I
Cool.
just think that would be a cool thing. But it's not
Yeah.
if it happened next year, that would be okay too. This is something we've
No,
been
no.
I've been talking to him about it for, I think, at least a year and a half, if not longer.
Okay.
So it's not like this
No,
is
I
not.
would aim to have it done in the next 6 weeks, I'm sure.
Okay. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't know about their publication schedule and whatnot. It all seems a bit hurried to me, but there is still some months left and whatever.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I like having goals, but not pressure.
I think it's great. It shouldn't take long. It's not a big piece.
Okay.
So we'll do it, and I'll definitely text you when
Sure.
I'm ready for you to jump in and take a look.
And if you want more of a straightforward answer and not me just yakking away for 3 hours, you can just text me and I'll just answer it. You know, if you wanted some context or content or something. Doesn't have to be anything. Okay.
Sounds perfect.
Cool.
Okay.
And so, well, quickly though, how's you and your guy and your kiddo and all that?
Awesome. Like, so he's retired, and I'm basically retired, and so we have the freedom of lots of time, and
Nice.
And our daughter is finishing ninth grade, and we're gonna travel this summer, like
Where are
we
you gonna
always
go?
do. She has made friends with someone in Utrecht, Netherlands, and so we're going to go to Netherlands for a week or so, and then we're going to go to Belgium for a bit, and then back to France for a bit, and then we'll spend the rest of the summer in LA and San Diego, Southern California area.
Cool.
Yeah. We try to get out of here as much as we can once it gets hot.
Sure. And then is your guy still running marathons?
Oh yeah, and now he's coaching Nina's high school cross country team. So, but I say that, but it's the only sport they have at their school, and there's like a dozen kids in it. It's a performing arts school, so they're kind of like,
good.
you know, like
that sounds good.
Yeah, he's liking it. It's fun.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. All right, cool. So I will be in touch, and in the meantime, I hope you guys have a good, or I hope Helix has a good spring break.
Yeah, she did last year, so she's in school again. She's back in school, so yeah. She had a good
time. That's right. Yeah. You said already.
She's she's a cool person. We have a great relationship, and she's super independent and always precocious. And yeah, it's good person. Good person. Definitely, turning 17 this month, so it's a trip. Boyfriends and the whole thing. But we have a great relationship, and she's super excited to go travel with me again. So.
Oh, that's nice. I can't imagine you like being an intimidating dad to a boyfriend.
No. She actually is her second boyfriend. The last one was problematic, but we recognize they have to learn what's acceptable and what's not acceptable themselves. So it was a little bit of bypassing, just overlooking red flags and stuff, because they're just it's too easy to be prescriptive as a parent, and no teenager wants that in any way.
Yeah.
So it's too easy to lose their trust. So, I work pretty hard at that, and so far so good. I make some mistakes, but I don't expect her to not be a person, a human. I don't that just I've never lied to the kid ever about anything.
Yeah.
Short of traumatizing, but I mean, actually, no, I've never really lied to her. Certainly not to protect her.
Oh, that's sweet. That's really good.
That's what I could do.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Cool. All right.
Well, thank you so much for your time
okay, you
and
too.
your energy, and I'm really excited, and I'm so grateful to you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Same. All right. Talk to you soon.
Okay. Alrighty. Bye-bye.